My name is Julia Thompson, and what I'm about to share is a true story that still gives me chills. It happened last year during a solo trip to a remote cabin in the Appalachian Mountains. I needed a break from the chaos of city life and thought a weekend getaway in nature would be the perfect escape. Little did I know, it would turn into a nightmare I can't forget. I arrived at the cabin late in the afternoon. It was a quaint, rustic place, surrounded by dense woods and far from any neighbors. The isolation was exactly what I wanted. I spent the first few hours unpacking and enjoying the peaceful surroundings. As dusk fell, I lit a fire in the fireplace and settled in with a book. Around 10 p.m., I decided to call it a night. I turned off the lights and climbed into bed, feeling relaxed and content. But as I lay there, I started to hear strange noises outside the cabin, soft rustling, followed by faint whispers. At first, I tried to brush it off, thinking it was just the wind or animals. But the noises persisted, growing louder and more distinct. I got out of bed and peered out the window, but I couldn't see anything in the darkness. The forest seemed impenetrable, and the whispers sent shivers down my spine. I tried to ignore it and went back to bed, pulling the covers tightly around me. I must have dozed off because I was suddenly jolted awake by a loud bang on the front door. My heart pounded in my chest as I listened intently. The banging continued, rhythmic and insistent. Gathering my courage, I grabbed a flashlight and slowly approached the door. "Who's there?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. There was no answer, just more banging. I took a deep breath and opened the door slightly, shining my flashlight into the night. To my horror, there was no one there. The porch was empty, and the forest beyond was still and silent. I quickly shut the door and locked it, my mind racing. I couldn't explain what was happening, but I knew I couldn't stay there alone. I decided to leave the cabin immediately. I hurriedly packed my bag, keeping an eye on the door. Just as I was about to leave, the whispers started again, this time inside the cabin. They were soft but clear, as if someone was standing right behind me. I froze, my flashlight trembling in my hand. Slowly, I turned around, and there she was, a pale, ghostly figure of a woman standing in the corner of the room. Her eyes were hollow, and she stared at me with an intensity that made my blood run cold. "You need to leave," she whispered, her voice echoing eerily. I didn't need to be told twice. I bolted out the door and into my car, driving away as fast as I could. I didn't stop until I reached the nearest town, where I checked into a motel and spent the rest of the night wide awake, trying to make sense of what I had seen. The next day, I returned to the cabin in daylight, accompanied by a friend. We found nothing unusual. No signs of anyone having been there, no evidence of the ghostly figure I had seen. But I knew what I had experienced was real. I later learned that the cabin had a tragic history. Decades ago, a woman had lived there alone after her husband died in a logging accident. She was said to have gone mad with grief and disappeared one night, never to be seen again. Some believe her spirit still haunts the cabin, warning others to stay away. I haven't been back to the cabin since, and I don't plan to. The memory of that night is enough to keep me away. If you ever find yourself in a remote cabin in the woods, listen to the whispers and heed the warnings. Some places are best left undisturbed, and some spirits will never rest.